Mr. Conradi, you're always very kind. Ladies and gentlemen, in my script here, I have the lists of the distinguished ministers and dignitaries that are on the stage that I should recognize. But I would not do that, because I don't see ministers on the stage, I see friends. And I think they will forgive me if I skip that and I go directly into the subject matter. Welcome all of you here, and thank you for being with us this afternoon. I want to start by thanking ITB for organizing this session and bringing this tropical issue to the discussion. It's a very, very important issue. Last night, if some of you had the opportunity to attend the opening ceremony, I was concentrating and emphasizing on the importance of technology and the new business models, on the future of our industry, and for that matter, on the future of the world altogether. The convention program of ITB has established itself as a leading forum for tourism discussions and a forward-looking forum, allowing us to leave ITB every year more informed, more enriched, and better equipped to face the challenges ahead. It is therefore my very great honor to be here on the second year that we have joined ITB in this roundtable ministerial discussion. This year's topic in particular is of particular significance and importance. But before I dwell into the subject of today, allow me to share with you a brief overview of where the sector is. This may help the discussant and the panel, the distinguished panel, and yourselves to place us in the right perspective. International tourism continues to grow from strength to strength. 2015 was another record year. International tourism grew at 4.4% to reach almost 1.2 billion. To be precise, 1,184 million international travelers crossing borders in one single year. That's 50 million extra additional tourists that traveled the world in 2015 as compared to 2014. This has happened in spite of many challenges: uneven economic recovery, rising geopolitical conflicts, security concerns, safety concerns, health concerns, and many other issues that are very clear to you. All what you need to do is watch the news every morning to realize the situation and the concerns and the challenges that the world is facing. Demand in general was strong on tourism, though it was a mixed result year. Some of the destinations that did well the years before did not do so well, and many destinations benefited from a few factors that I'd like to share with you. They may shed some good and important light on some of the discussions. Unusually strong exchange rate fluctuation was a very, very serious and important factor. Many source markets were affected by the inability to travel precisely because the currency was going down. Others went upward. They enabled them to become very more attractive source markets. Some of the markets were able to become more competitive. Some of the destinations became more competitive. But all in all, the strong exchange rate fluctuation has played a big, big role in making the results of last year quite mixed. The drop in oil prices also and commodities was a very, very serious development that took shape in the last 2 years, but have gained much more impact in the year that passed. Of course, the last but not least very important factor that came to the surface is concerned about increased safety and security that has become a very dominant issue. While this is not the time to talk about it, it is outside of the scope of our concerns, but it must be taken into consideration, particularly when we talk about a particular important issue like technology and the ability of the human community to use technology to make travel, to make our lives, to make our world a safer place. We have forecasted that 2016 would continue to be a year of growth. We're forecasting a 4% growth over 2015, and that is not a very unrealistic forecast because we are building it on our past experiences. But let me now turn a little bit to the subject matter of this discussion, hoping to lay some foundations to our following debate. We are definitely living challenging times. Most interesting moment in our history, however, comes with interesting times. What may look to be a challenge can turn to be an opportunity. This is a moment that many of us are calling the fourth revolution. It is based on the developments that have accelerated in the technological realm. My dear friend Amir, the Director General of the Ministry of Tourism of Israel, remembers that last year when we met in Haifa, we discussed this issue in very much of details. Today, screens are everywhere, connecting billions of people across the planet in real time, empowering them and providing them with a voice. The silents are not silent anymore, and they're creating a new sense of belonging for the international community, crossing all barriers, ethnic barriers, geographic barriers, political barriers, and economic barriers. There is little doubt that the rise in the new technologies are giving way to a new time and a new world and a new life. A time where power is shifting from governments to citizens, from companies to consumers. If we fail to recognize this, we are missing the essence of what are the changes that are taking place in the world of today. The consumer is empowered. The consumer is in charge today. Let me set the scene for this debate with the following 3 areas in which we see that technologies and the technological revolution impacted our sector in particular. And I hope you take good note of them to challenge them or to add to them or to enrich them. 1, there is an emergence of a new business model as a result of technologies and new abilities of consumers and customers to engage with their business. The peer-to-peer platform, or as it's called, sharing economy, is just some of the many names that is used to define what I would call a new business model. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I have a little difficulty in simply naming it the sharing economy. But it's definitely a new business model, regardless of how you would describe it. While we welcome the benefits that this new business model brings, we should embrace it and we should work with it. Because the fact is that we cannot anyhow fight it. It's going to happen no matter what we have in terms of position vis-a-vis it. But having said this, we must ensure that it's turned into a force for good, that it ensures customers' rights, it ensures qualities and standards, safety and security, and most importantly, guarantees a level playing field for all businesses alike. We cannot have businesses that are paying taxes and paying their duties towards the societies and others that are not. Because whether you call it whatever you want to call it, peer-to-peer, platform, sharing, it is a business, and businesses must be treated equally. And as such, we must guarantee and ensure the standards, the hygiene, the security that these business model provides. This is not a call to try and address or confront this new business model. It is simply a call for equality and fairness. And it's also a call to embrace the new business model. We should welcome it. It adds to the supply. It enriches the offer. And it benefits many people and many families that are living off these businesses. It's money going directly to some people. But we must be very careful that we are not deceived by the term sharing economy. We should not be deceived by the fact that sometimes the case is being presented as a poor lady whose husband has died, and she's trying to make some living and trying to rent her apartment on the platform. This very same lady may be owning 50 apartments and doing the same thing. If that's the case, that's a business, and business as such should be treated equally like any other businesses. Secondly, the power of the consumer is rising. Today's consumer can be a whistleblower for unethical practices. TripAdvisor is a sheer example of that. We welcome their contribution to our sector, and we salute it. Many, many other social media platforms are a medium where many, many customers are saying what they think. Right or wrong, it matters. Whether it's fair or not fair, it counts into the business model. Therefore, we should take that into consideration. They could be business blowers, or they could be biggest brand ambassadors to our businesses. It is therefore the duty of the destinations and the company that no longer to live on the promises. They must deliver on a new value system. They must build a different relationship with the consumer, and they must build their services on concrete and relevant propositions, not imaginary or dreamy proposition. There is no place anymore for unfulfilled promises in the business. Businesses are being scrutinized by the consumer. Their brands are now in the realm of the co-creator and in the hands of the consumer. The itineraries and the brands are co-created by the company and the consumer nowadays, because it's in the hands of the consumer to affect and influence the shape and the looks and the reputation of the brand. Consumers demand transparency today, responsibility. Through technology, they become an active part of the business and the marketing of the destination or the company. The third most important impact that technology is doing on our industry is our shared responsibility. A connected traveler is also a more responsible and demanding traveler nowadays. This exponential growth of tourism comes with increased responsibility and a shared responsibility towards the planet and people. And our consumer is becoming more demanding in that regard and more informed in that regard. We have before us an immense opportunity to make technology our ally in improving resource efficiency, in preserving our common values, our culture, and our heritage. My dear friends, a smart destination is one that can use data generated by the visitors to better manage and market itself while enhancing the visitor's experience. Any illusion to try and prove yourself contrary to this trend is a failed illusion and a failed policy. Today's digitalization allows destinations to better understand their visitors and adapt their offer to their needs and wishes. We should be smart enough, should be capable of understanding what the pulse is and act accordingly. It allows them to make informed decisions on key issues, such as congestion management, the use of resources, the use of energy or water or infrastructure needs. All of these needs are very important, and the new technology would allow us to raise up to that level. It creates new possibilities to build innovative travel experiences and bring visitors closer to the local community, who can now share their own suggestions and services as at their fingertips. Today's world is one that is shaped by technology, and much of this must be kept in the minds of all the businesses. Finally, and to realize these opportunities, we need to address some of the key issues, which I will rephrase in the form of questions and pose them to the panel. 1, the financing of technology and innovation. 2, the capacity building of human resources development. How are we equipped? I was a little bit surprised to see that when it came to education, when you pressed the button, most of the people did not think that the new model of education is the most important element there. I would have put it that way. 3, how do we embrace digitalization in each step of the value chain, not just in our core business, but all the connected value chain activities and services? 4, how do we foster public-private partnership with key technology players? Last but not least, 5, how to address the new business models? What kind of rules, what kind of regulations, what kind of managements do we need in that? I trust that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know that we can talk so much about this, and there is so much that needs to be said. But I just wanted to lay the grounds and set the scene and leave it to the panel to air their views and share their experiences with us in their respective countries. The discussion that will follow will highlight many more issues and opportunities brought by digitalization to tourism. To do so, we are privileged to have with us ministers, vice ministers, director generals, and high-level officials from the whole world. Allow me to join me to welcome them. Again, I am not going to name them one by one, but we're represented here by Israel, South Africa, India, Bulgaria, Jordan, and the great country of Argentina. Thank you all very much. I look forward to the discussions that will follow. I am not connected to a wire. Do I stay here or do I sit down? I guess I stay here. Okay. All right. There's a microphone there. Good. Sandra? My suggestion is, in order to make this panel as lively as possible, I would please ask you and to avoid making very lengthy intervention. I would prefer that we respond to questions in a telegraphic manner, in a quick manner, so that it would allow me to come back to you and engage in a more interactive session, as opposed to having each one of us make a presentation as such. So my first question to you, and I will pose this question to each and every one of you, is how is your country dealing with this challenge at the tourism administration level? Are you feeling the impact of it? And if so, are you doing anything to deal with these challenges? If you can just, in a minute or two, just explain that to us. I welcome the new Minister of Tourism of Bahrain. You're most welcome, sir. Let me start from the right, not because I'm a right-wing person, but because the right is the right. Gustav Santos, please, could you try to address that? And I assume you'll be feeling easier if you speak in your very native, very beautiful language. Please. Yeah.
Gracias, querido.
Thank you, dear friend. There is no doubt digitalization has confronted us with a reality as far as tourism is concerned, which is unprecedented, with enormous or gigantic challenges. It's impossible to avoid it. We cannot think about how we could live without digitization. Digitization is there, and tourism is influenced by this phenomenon. And we, as states and governments, have to embrace and meet these challenges. We have to be innovative. One of the great challenges for our governments is to make sure that there is funding so that both the public and the private sector will be able to find answers in the field of innovation which are necessary. In my country, there are several specific lines in the Ministry for Science and Development and also in the Industry Ministry, which of course is not enough. We are talking to public and private banks to see how we can provide both public and private funding to enable the development of better and new technologies. In particular, in the tourism industry, we're currently developing a line for projects R&D with funds, grants that do not have to be paid back for SMEs. We think that is of key importance that both the private and the public sector go hand in hand and collaborate. We do not have enough regulation. However, we see some progress in the field of security and safety, electronic signature, data protection, but they're not yet uniform rules when it comes to international trade. i.e., we need to find solutions. In the Mercosur, we are making progress to work out common laws for the countries which are part of the Mercosur, which is, however, a great challenge which will stay for the years to come. The challenges are in the field of legislature and providing funds and resources in order to meet these new challenges. And we cannot do this with an outdated mentality. We need a new mentality. It's not about new instruments. True innovation has to be within ourselves, which will make a difference. Thank you.
To you on some of the specific issues that you raised, but let me now finish the first round and then we'll come back. Mr. Faiz.
Thank you, Taleb, for this wonderful challenge, and I think it's about time that we discuss such opportunities, if I may call them, as the whole world has shifted towards a new era, that maybe tourism in certain fields has followed, but not as a global approach from all of us. If you look at this digital technology that we are facing today, I believe it's an opportunity for countries such as small countries with great potential for tourism, such as Jordan. And if I may link them all together, Jordan is a country that has focused on the IT sector, and we have seen startups and initiatives that have been starting, such as the Oasis 500, focusing on technology and how to embrace technology in many fields, but we were not able to link it with the tourism aspect. Recently, we have been discussing this in the tourism industry, as we are finding out there are a lot of comers to the market, but we have no control over them. That brings us to the point that you made. We need to make sure that it is fair and equal, so that people, when they provide the product, they can compete. They can compete globally, not only domestically. Today, I think domestically is a big challenge, because those who are working on a much larger scale globally have the power today. They have started much earlier than most of countries, regional, let's say, and they have that advantage. Now, as I've understood also from my colleague, today we do not have these legal aspects that are ready, that we can take and implement in all of the countries. I think it has to be finding a standard that we can work together as a tourism industry to give that equal opportunities, but also to use that opportunity, keeping in mind that digital marketing and digital tourism is an opportunity to make those tourists who are coming to your country stay longer or get feedback on many issues. I may take an example which we just launched in September of last year. We came and launched what we call the Jordan Pass. That Jordan Pass was initially thought of as just an opportunity to give tourists the chance to visit as much locations as possible within the country. But we discovered that if we wanted to go with the traditional way of initiating this program, sooner or later we're going to discover that it's not up to date. So we decided to go immediately into the digital aspects of it. And I think it brought to our attention, and it was not intended, that we can get a lot of feedback from this digital tool that we have introduced through the Jordan Pass, not only listening to the suggestions that were given by the consumer themselves immediately, and it's important to listen and take those notes and also improve, because as you said, it cannot be just a promise. It has to be on the ground, felt by the tourists. So we took all those feedback. At the same time, we started improving it, and we're looking at it on the short term. Hopefully within a year times, we can also build our data on how to focus on certain markets, on the needs of different markets from the interest of those markets. So it will help us tremendously. But again, I think this is a new subject for a lot of countries. It's not a new subject for the travel industry, because as I said, a lot of them have started globally. But within regions, I think it is a new subject that we have a lot of opportunities to improve on.
Thank you so much. I will be coming back to each and every one of the panelists, distinguished panelists, and asking them if there are any specific action or regulations or legislations that each country has made in regard to that, but that will come at the second question, please. Let's stick now to the impact of technology on our sector. And what attracted my attention in the intervention of the distinguished minister from Jordan is the fact that he stated that the tourism industry, international tourism industry, has become aware and has dealt with this situation and have experience in this. I want to make sure if you agree with that. The impression is, Mr. Minister, that it's the businesses outside of the tourism sector that are taking the lead, and the tourism industries are simply reacting to this. But I need your confirmation on this when we come back to you. Bulgaria.
Thank you, Taleb. Yes, that digitalization is not only a challenge, but an opportunity that I think we all need to address and use properly, because the world's future, the Europe's future in the digital agenda is related to how we are approaching the data, which is the currency of the future, and in particular, the free flow of data. Because we are now preparing in Bulgaria our digital agenda 2020 in relation with the digital agenda for Europe, also the innovation strategy for smart specialization. But all that, but preparing all that, we have to consider the influence of the digitalization not only in the tourism industry, but all the related one. Because we all said that, and we all know that tourism is the sector that has, in particular in Bulgaria, 14% of the GDP with all the related industries. And it is very important this to be understood not only by the tourism sector itself, but all the affiliated one. And talking about e-commerce, invoice, and all relevant activities related to electronic data and e-governance, we still need a lot to do in order to make people and industries self-confident that their data is protected, that they will be protected using the e-commerce and e-government that will facilitate all our lives. But the digitalization, in particular in the marketing, is really growed really tremendously. And this is why in Bulgaria, in the Ministry of Tourism, we focused in our marketing strategy, in particular in the digitalization and online marketing, because most of the customers, most of the tourists are first going to internet, and all the internet platforms, the social networks are very influential when taking a decision to travel to one or another country. We have already started a series of activities related to changing the regulatory base in Bulgaria and trying to assure finance, in particular using the European funds. Bulgaria, being a member of the European Union, can do that. But maybe later in the other round of answers, I will be more detailed regarding all the concrete steps that we have already taken, considering the amendment of their existing legislation and setting up different online registers and information for tourists, online information for tourist attractions that can be useful for each and every tourist that would love to travel to Bulgaria. But definitely the digitalization is very influential in each and every sector in our country. This is the data is the currency of the future, as I said, and if as earlier the better, is to take all the relevant steps in order to convert the challenge into a useful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. As you can see, that Bulgaria, in its recognition to the need to address the challenge of technology, has opted to choose a Minister of Tourism that belongs to the millennial generation, probably, and that is so well equipped to deal with the technological issue like all our new generation is. So thank you. Sir, India, the big, great, fantastic country. How did technology impact your tourism industry?
Excellency on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Well, India has a firm commitment that the digitalization of economy and digitalization of all the procedures and processes is the need of the hour. Our Prime Minister, when he took over, he launched a campaign called Digital India, and along with that, Startup India. Basically, the philosophy of the government is that digital platform should be universal, it should be neutral, it should be accessible. And in fact, digital inclusion is as much a right of the citizens as the right to food and shelter. This is the kind of ideology we are forming in our country. In order to be very practical and keeping tourism in perspective, I would recommend that there are 3 important steps that we need to take. First is, all the countries, especially developing countries, we are on the way to digitalization. Everyone has accepted that it is something which cannot be avoided. Those nations which have lagged behind are not to be, they will not be competitive, whether it is in tourism industry or whether in any other economic sector. They have to come up and bring in the digital revolution. Now, in order to bring the digital revolution, first of all you need is the technology, you need the broadband, you need the resources, and you need to do it within a limited span of time. Once you have the technology and the resources, the next thing is, what is the choice of technology? Which is the one that you need most? It may be different for a particular strategy for a particular sector. For tourism, it can be different. You may not be able to adopt the same technology for all sectors. And thirdly, once you have chosen a technology or set of technologies, whether it was tourism or for any other sector, as the Secretary General had rightly mentioned, you have to build the capacity, the human resource. India has been working for the last almost 2 decades, preparing the right manpower for the technology. And we are happy to inform that we have been able to keep a match of both together. But we have to also go a long way to bring in technology and spread it throughout the country. Coming to tourism, I would certainly like to mention that we are doing a good job as far as bringing in digital economy or digitalization is concerned. I would cite some examples. In fact, there was a time in 2002 when Indian Railways, you can imagine the size of this country, and Indian Railways being one of the biggest railway structure, the Indian Railways started the e-ticketing, e-booking through its IRCTC portal. And when it was started, people were mocking, because the first day of the inauguration, when they launched in the year 2002, there were just about 27 entries through the e-ticketing. And today in 2015, one-day e-booking has risen to 1.25 million. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of impact that digitalization, internet, social media, Wi-Fi has brought in all the sectors. And tourism has to cope up with that. We have tried our best and we have been quite successful. Maybe not as good as a developed country, but we are able to match our requirements. E-tourist visa is one of the biggest usages that we have made of digital revolution. And ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in informing this august audience that India, in the last 1.5 hours, we have provided the facility of e-tourist visa to 150 countries within a span of about a year and 3 months. And we are simultaneously matching, because every time you start a country, or start this facility for a country of e-tourist visa in different ports, you have to match with the manpower, you have to match with the human resource, you have to also train and develop, and you have to provide resources. And it was a big challenge when the government launched in 113 countries. We had a big challenge of coping up, lest there may be long queues. But whenever I go to the international airports, I happen to visit the counters of e-tourist visa, and I'm glad to inform that I haven't received much complaint about the actual facilitation. Now, this e-tourist visa would not have been possible had it not been for digitalization. I would also like to inform, we have a system of classification of hotels in India. Now it has been done totally online. We have the system of registration of tourism tour operators and travel agents, which was done manually. People used to visit, they used to file applications. Now it is online. The tour operator has to fill in the application for registration, and within a span of 15 to 20 days, after due inquiry and diligence, he gets a mail in his inbox that you have been registered as a tour operator. I would also like to tell a very interesting example. This has been happening, and I think it must be happening in all the countries. In India, we have in the ministry, under the ministry, 14 overseas tourism offices all over the world, which covers every inch of this universe. And we have 20 tourism offices, domestic offices, which cover the entire country. Basically, they were doing the publicity, promotion, marketing job as a principal job. Of late, what is happening is, and we have offices, people are not thronging, they're sitting idle. The result is, no longer the publicity material is being distributed. It's remaining idle because most of the time, everyone is catering to and resorting to the e-methods. With the result, we had to change ourselves. Now we are in the process of appointing media planners. We are in the process of redevelopment of websites with virtual tours, with audio tours. We are in the process of bringing in Incredible India new applications. We brought in the first version. Then the demand was that we want in real time, so we are now bringing a second Incredible India version. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the point which I am trying to drive at is, we have to bring in, as per the requirement, and particularly in the tourism sector, otherwise we will lag behind with our competitors. And no country can today afford, and no tourism ministry, no tourism sector can afford. Depending upon the resources that you have, depending upon the time that you have with you, you have to strategize, you have to plan, you have to drive a roadmap, and I think you can't do without digitalization. So I am very strongly advocating that we all have to look forward towards digitalization of the tourism sector as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. I think we have to come to terms with the fact that what is done in India must be multiplied by 1.4 billion times. The scale of the challenge and the ability of the government there and the authorities to make the changes that we have just heard are very, very significant. And I'm glad that they are turned into services available to people to make people's life easier, as opposed to look at them as a problem as such. You've turned it into an opportunity, so thank you very much. Now we'll turn to a wonderful small little country that's quite sophisticated in its application of much of the technology and has a very high level of human resource skills and development, the country of Bahrain. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, in our case, I guess you'll have to divide by 1.4 billion, not multiply, you know. In a way that's easier, but it's also more challenging because the numbers are not there to play with. I won't go into more details of what technology initiatives we've taken on board because they're endless. I mean, you could start with something as small as an Instagram account to showcase images of your nation. And just today, Sheikh Khalid was bragging to me that they started an Instagram account less than 10 days ago, and they already have about 3,000 followers. And he's promised to have 100,000 by the year end. So, you know, let's see whether he delivers on the promise. I'm sure he will, as usual. But we've done many cases in the recent future, in the near future. We look to expand more. But I think what I'd like to touch upon today is not what technology offers us today, or not how we can develop technology to serve us in our operations, because I think we haven't seen technology yet. In the next maybe 5-10 years, we will, by we will definitely have technology that will allow us to anticipate the future. And when we are busy today looking at technology to analyze the past of what statistics or what systems we can do or what possibilities our visitors can tap into, if you have attended the Davos World Economic Forum this year, the whole talk was about Industry 4.0 revolution. And the whole gist of it was, how do you take what you have today to anticipate future trends, and therefore you're one step ahead by having a product ready for people who want to have it in 12 months or 6 months, and you are one step ahead in your facilities, in your programs, in your attractions, so you become distinguished rather than you chasing demand. You offer it to them before they start asking for it, and you therefore create a destination for your country. So I think this will happen very soon, and we are trying to not catch up, but to leapfrog technology to jump on this 4.0 initiative in Bahrain, and therefore be one step ahead and impress people who look at our country as a destination that we are already thinking of what they might be thinking to see in 6 months or 12 months down the line. Also, the availability of technology today has really risen the bar for all of us, because now the traveler is much more educated. He can research, he can compare, he can benchmark one country to the other, one destination to another, and therefore he will come to you with a perceived notion about the country. It's not something new. He's read about it, he's probably seen pictures of it, read reviews. Criticism is widely available, or not necessarily criticism, but even good notes about the country. So you can tap into any resource today on available platforms and know everything about the destination before you even set foot there. Whereas in the past, you'd have to probably go there and discover it yourself. So this becomes more of a challenge for us. We have adopted technology today to look at feedback from visitors to see where our weaknesses are, where our positive strength points are. We've adopted that far down the line into our hotel facilities, so we are able to see where the criticism comes from, what do they like, what do they dislike about the facilities, and we share it with the hotels, and we've given them access to it as well. So I think we're at the end of the first wave of technology adaptation, and the next wave will see us looking more into the future than analyzing the past. And that will even bring in a new challenge for us, because we have to think ahead rather than just rely on what database we have today.
Thank you so much, Minister. I think what you've offered us is quite a new, fresh outlook towards this. You're not just trying to respond to the challenges, you're trying to think outside the box and create for yourself new challenges and new opportunities in the sense of looking into the future and how can you stretch what you have a little bit longer than what it is. So thank you so much for that. We turn now to the wonderful country of South Africa. The lovely Vice Minister, who I haven't seen for a long time now. I know that you are struggling also with the challenge of digital equity and the impact of technology on the tourism industry. I know we've shared this with you, with the Minister before, but if you could be kind enough to share it with some of our audiences here, we'd be much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
It's fine, it's just if you can bring it closer to your mouth. I found out that that's the trick.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity. Indeed, we are grappling with it because technology is not waiting for us, and it's so dynamic. Every day you think you've started and you really see innovation in the whole world. The world is a globe, and therefore you have to catch up and ensure that you understand each traveler and their maturity from all levels, and therefore you are able to catch up with what they want. But if I may just indicate to say, one just fortunate part is that at this point in time, tourism has got a greatest opportunity to be at the center of contributing to our economic growth as a country, and therefore the programs around digitization and also technology and innovation, are brought to the center as we all discuss, and therefore we are able to find ways to influence in the development of the actual strategy that moves it forward. We have otherwise been responding because whilst government in tourism is supposed to be leading and the industry driving, the industry is mostly leading than driving when it comes to technology. But government has been keeping pace with that. And what we are looking at the trends as it is manifesting is that one, you're looking into a situation where you have to balance between a traveler who continues to be a traditional traveler who depends on your tour operators to get into their offices and utilize the technology there, and a traveler who is able to, or who needs information at the spot and can access it on a 24/7. And at the same time, you're looking into what is it in terms of the innovation as you develop and launch these new processes and new products and services, and looking into these new markets of marketing and new business models, what would be the impact in terms of jobs? Because some of them would replace a lot of the jobs, whilst we're looking into tourism being that industry where you have a lot of entry for people who have to come to work, and at the same time, some of them would not be having such technology, which then highlights the issue of skills development and also innovation from our side, but also look into new areas of training people who come into tourism. We are grappling, we are moving forward, but as I indicated earlier on, government-to-government interactions are a bit lagging behind, but it is there already. You have e-government that has been introduced, e-health that is also introduced. We also have several interventions that we are engaged on that are impacting positively in terms of us doing tourism with our offices, 26 offices all over the world. The stage of using digitalization there, reaching to tourism travelers is to a level where we are then looking into how to plug in as government and also drive government to really take the issues to the center and invest in it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your emphasis on jobs and training is quite understandable, and I think it pours in the right direction. Amir, I know that you have been embarking on so many innovative ideas. You're famous for your startups. You have even created a new Silicon Valley when it comes to the use of technology. But how is that affecting tourism, and how is that connected to tourism? If you can share some of that with us, that would be useful.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to tell you that we have, at the last few months, two big high-tech and telecommunication and post, the national post company closed the offices and building and transferred it for hostels and boutique hotels. So it's a big achievement for the tourism. That's the best for the real estate in Israel is tourism now. And instead to continue to, in the center of the city, to be with telecommunication and all the others, and post office, we are going to be with hotels. So it's a big win for the tourism. And as you said, you know, in Israel, we have many startups. I can tell you that, you know, we in the ministry, at the last a month ago, we had the first hackathon. We opened all the database and all the information, the tourism information that we have in Israel for all the entrepreneurs. And we made for the first time, it was a big competition, and we asked them to develop, take all the details, everything is open database, we want that it will be accessible. And we found amazing startups that want to develop everything around the tourism. You know, in Israel, we have the founder of the Waze, and one of the startups is EatWith. EatWith is a new startup. The Airbnb is very popular, and all the sharing economy is very popular in Israel. And EatWith is a new startup that a few weeks ago we had 150 European tour operators that we hosted in Israel. And one evening we asked them to join us for the EatWith. And the EatWith is a very unique experience where they can choose an Israeli family that can host them for a dinner. Instead, going another day for another one of the wonderful restaurants, as you know, and we have good restaurants and culinary in Israel. They choose a family that can host them with traditional Israeli food, and it's became very, very popular. Today we have about 20 and 25% of the tourists that are coming to Tel Aviv are trying hosting with this kind of startup. It became very, very popular, and you know, we are looking for new startups. We have with the bird watching that is very popular in Israel, with the biking, with wineries. We have a lot of apps that developed from the open data that we have with the ministry. And hopefully, we want to develop more and more. And for the first time, we are going to be with the first tourist information that is going to work. Tourist information with virtual tourist information that everyone from all over the world can ask the virtual tourist information in our main airport in Tel Aviv a question about Israel. So we have plenty of new ideas, and we hope that in Israel we'll have more and more startups, and it's good for the tourism and good for the economy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that sheds a new light. Now, I hope you can understand that we have been quite generous in the way you used the time, because it was the first question, and each one of you would want to take the space and the time to say what they want to say. I hope in the second question that I'm going to pose to you, you'd be more focused, more specific, and more short and more direct, because I do want to have some opportunity to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions. And actually, my second question is going to be quite specific and precise. Amir, you mentioned the issue of some families providing food as a service through the internet. This is a trend that is complementary to the new sharing economy. In the sharing economy, you don't only find an apartment or a place to live, you can find a meal. Uber can also provide you with a taxi transportation or any other kind of services. And we have not seen the end of it. So my question is related to the sharing economy. In the city of Barcelona or the city of New York, our data is showing that 75% of the accommodation in the city of Barcelona is done through the platform sharing economy, 75%, which means that only 25% is done through traditional hotels or accommodations. My question to you is a very specific one. Are you having this challenge in your countries? And if so, are you thinking of any regulations or any ways of addressing it so that we can create a plain level field? What is it that you're doing vis-a-vis that? If you could please be very specific about this answer. And this time, I'm going to start with the ladies, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with the minister from Bulgaria and then the minister from South Africa. Nicolita, please.
Thank you. Yes, we are thinking about the challenge of sharing economy, but we still don't have a platform that can unite all the industries related to that. And this is where we have to put focus, and this is why we are elaborating the so-called Digital Agenda 2020 related with the e-government to set that platform work. Because so far, unfortunately, in the European Union, we are in one of the last places related to e-commerce, e-invoicing. For example, I will give you a number that there are very few SMEs sell online, 5.7%, and even less sell online to other EU members, which are 2.8%. Very low percentage, which means that we have to work a lot in first creating the confidence, and second, try the people using that digital platform.
Can you tell me what the size of the problem is in Bulgaria? Do you have an idea about the size?
It's
not the problem, the size of the phenomena.
It's related to the mindset of the people. They are still used to the traditional ways, in particular in the commerce industry, because talking about marketing and talking about bookings online, the figure is different. Then the figure is up to 75%. Talking about internet coverage, Bulgaria is one of the first countries with 95-97% broadband network, and in the rural areas we are in the first top 10 in Europe with 72%. So it is about mindset, and this is what we are analyzing. That it's about confidence that they will, that the people will feel secure using the e-commerce and using the digital platform of the shared economy. And this is, we set all the steps into the innovation strategy for smart specialization. And our main financing sources are the European structural funds, in particular in the operational program for innovation and competitiveness, where we will, with particular projects, try to boost this phenomenon.
But you have not done any specific regulations or legislations to deal with this issue, have you?
We have done, and as I said, this is related with the strategy that the government has adopted and the parliament approved related to innovation strategy and smart specialization. And this is transferred in all the, now we have recently not adopted, but we are in a discussion in the parliament for the electronic e-government act, where in all the relevant sectors we are requiring steps to be taken for the digitalized economy, for the shared economy. In particular, in the tourism sector, we have already set up the unified system for touristic information, online register, where everything is available through the website of the ministry.
By law?
By law, yes, by law.
Thank you.
We have regulated this by law, and we have obliged every one, from the hotels to the tourist agents to the other providers of touristic services, to apply and to fulfill this information. They are obliged by law to do that.
Thank you so much. Madam, in South Africa, what is the size of this phenomena, and are you doing anything legally to manage it or regulate it?
At the moment,
it's fine.
At the moment, it's targeting your big cities like your Cape Town or big provinces that are mostly visited, where you would find a proper network, and therefore there would be an easy way of moving between spots for your Uber. And there's also the Airbnb. It's not yet very popular, but it is there already. But the industry has also said, because earlier they were coming back to government, say, what do we do about it? And our stance as government has been not to over-regulate the industry, but we all agree that our destination has to be a value for money destination. We must always ensure that we have service excellence in everything that we do. And each industry owner or product offering must be able, because we have service standards, to be able to benchmark in terms of the services that they are giving. So it has been embraced as part of the offerings that are there, but at the same time, it does present a challenge, because in future, you don't know what will happen to the B&Bs that we have and every other traditional forms of tourism offerings that we have.
Thank you so much. I've been just handed a paper telling me that I have 5 minutes only. We have 5 wonderful gentlemen that still need to speak, so that means 1 minute each maximum, please. And I still hope to be able to get 1 or 2 questions from the floor. Minister Santos, please. What is the size of the phenomena, and are you doing anything about it? In 1 minute. You can do it.
Es fundamentalmente grande en las ciudades principales, en particular.
This phenomenon is very common in large cities, in particular in Buenos Aires. What are we doing? We are trying to regulate it, knowing, as my South African colleague said, this is about cultural things. It's a digital culture. And everything we are doing, the laws we pass, will come too late. While we're talking about it, there are thousands, millions of young people using their smartphones and creating activities. And there are thousands of app designers designing new apps, forcing us to be open. And even if we pass law with respect to safety and to minimize unfair competition, what we are trying to do is to keep a flexible mentality, because the future will depend on how we are, if we are innovative, what our attitude is. It depends on our innovative attitude, and the phenomenon will always proceed and will always be faster than we are.
Not have a shared platform, which we are working on. And it has raised the issue of amending some of our bylaws that we are also working on to be able to meet such requirements. But I think within this comes a big opportunity, especially for those who want to enter into the tourism industry, who are also working in the tourism industry, but you need to guide them on the right direction. And I think through that shared platform, it could be an opportunity for us, an opportunity to push more interaction with the local communities and the people in rural areas and in areas that can be of interest to a lot of travelers. And it will also help us in promoting the country, not only as the traditional aspects of the tourism product that they come for. They can come today for something new. They can experience something that was not on their agenda. And I think through this opportunity, this is where you can create more of a sharing economy, not only within the country, but it could be globally.
But you have not yet felt the need or the urgency to produce any specific laws or regulations in that
That's
regard.
what I'm saying. We are actually in the process of amending some our
You are
bylaws.
doing it already.
We are.
It's in the process.
We are in the process. When I'm saying in the process, we are actually we have amended some, and we are there are different bylaws that work on the tourism industry. So we have finished some of them, working with the industry in themselves, so that we can get their feedback and also tell them about this, not as a challenge, but as an opportunity that could be of benefit to them.
Thank you so much. Minister, unfortunately, I cannot multiply your minute by 1.4 billion. So please, can you just...
My quick answers, we have a Information Technology IT Act in India, but primarily it is to prevent the cyber crimes and to ensure level playing field amongst the cyber players of all sectors. If tourism is also covered in that, it will certainly apply to them. As it is, there is no law in the tourism sector, no act whatsoever. India, from that angle, I would say tourism sector is a totally free area to work in. But if you violate the law of the land, which is governed by the IT Act, of course, you will be covered. But it is not a day-to-day regulation. It's quite a free society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Minister?
Well, first of all, I'm also Minister of Commerce, so I'm willing to sell my minute to the highest bidder if there are any bids here.
Please do.
I would summarize it in three things we did. We first of all started a national tourist guide certification program. And for that, we went and we picked Bahrainis and expatriates living in Bahrain from different regions of Bahrain and different villages. So they become brand ambassadors of their village and whatever tourist sites they have there. We celebrated the graduation of the first batch, which was 32 of them in December, and we hope to have 100 of them by the end of 2016. And alongside that, we issued not a law, but regulation that only official certified tour guides are to be used by hotel concierge, tour operators, and the cruise liners who visit Bahrain. So we're protecting the industry and we're growing it at the same time. Today, from the first batch, we cover 8 languages. And out of the 32, we have 22 Bahrainis and 10 expatriates. This is one initiative we started. The second initiative we're just launched about a week ago is to develop our handicraft industry. And developing it by developing an app for them and web-based services so they can sell their handicraft products on e-commerce. Because they do wonderful stuff, they're artists, but they're not marketeers. So we're taking on that responsibility to spread their products not only in Bahrain, but around the world using technology available as apps or as web-based. The third initiative, which is more, I would say, on the commerce side, not tourism, is we are, by the mid of this year, we are launching what we call virtual commercial registration. And this is, we're starting it with 12 professions, and what that enables you to have is to have a commercial registration of a single owned, operated profession, like translation, for example, or photography, or web design, and it will be only available to Bahrainis and people who want to practice that on a part-time basis out of their homes or on whenever there is a requirement. So we anticipate there will be a good demand for them because we are building up our MICE business, tourism sector, and with that we'll need more translators, we'll need more people who do photography, web design, all that. So that's another initiative we're doing.
Thank you so much, Minister. Mr. Alevi, you have the last word.
I just want, regarding the regulation, we are in a process like a feasibility study. We can see that the eatwith, the Airbnb is very popular. We just want to take care and to see that there is fair play with the hoteliers, with the restaurant. It's very important for the economy. So we are working on it, and for us, it will take time, and it's good because now it's become a real business, and now the regulation can come. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're 5 minutes late, but I'm sure ITB would allow me to take 3 more minutes and allow 1 or 2 questions from the floor, because we promised to do that. Do we have any question from the floor? I'll be relieved if there aren't any, but I'd encourage you to do that as well. Yes, please, a question there.
Hi, thank you for your feedback. Very interesting. I was wondering if one of your share economy startup were coming to your government and say, we want to collaborate, we want a public-private partnership with your government, what will be your reaction? And how would you approach this?
We will send the question to the legal advisor of the ministry.
Any other response? Quick response? As quick as this first response?
Well, it's an opportunity. When there is a common interest and there is an opportunity for both, I think it will always have to look at the details, but it's always welcomed.
So it's welcomed. Good. Thank you. A second question, quickly. No second question. No second question. Thank you so much. I'm 6 minutes late, and I apologize for that, and I want to ask you all to
Taleb.
thank our great panel. I'm sorry. Did I hear anything? Yes,
Taleb.
please, please.
Me permite.
Please allow me just 1 minute, 10 seconds only. And this has to do with innovation. At the moment in my country, in Argentina, in Patagonia, something unique is happening, a phenomenon that happens only once a year, which is a breaking off of the glacier Alberito Moreno, which is as broad as the size of Buenos Aires and as high as a skyscraper. And once a year, a huge piece of ice breaks off. And so there was a first sketches now, and we installed a camera, and we hope that those who might visit the stand, our stand tomorrow, can see this unique thing broadcast live.
Panel that is here. I'm sure the topic needs more time, more in depth, but this is just the beginning of a debate that will continue on and on. I thank you all very much, and I wish you a very successful ITB. Thank you.